thank you for your prayers, for your support, for your partnership. And as we come to the end of this year, I'm just so grateful as I look back and see where God has allowed us to be this year.
What happens when a spiritual leader known for unshakable faith faces a personal trial that tests everything they stand for? Pastor Franklin Graham, a guiding light to millions and a symbol of unwavering belief, has inspired generations through his compassionate work and steadfast dedication to the Christian faith. Following in the legendary footsteps of his father, Billy Graham, Franklin has become a beacon of hope for those struggling in life's darkest moments. But today, devastating news has emerged that has left his community of followers reeling. Could this be a turning point in his remarkable journey? In this video, we'll uncover the heartbreaking revelation that has cast a shadow over Franklin Graham's life and ministry, as well as reflect on his incredible legacy of resilience, faith, and service. Stay with us as we explore the man behind the mission and the challenges he now faces. Franklin Graham's journey, from rebellion to prominent evangelical leader, a legacy in the making. Franklin's early life. William Franklin Graham III, known as Franklin Graham, was born on July 14, 1952 in Asheville, North Carolina, into one of America's most respected Christian families. His father, Billy Graham, was already a globally renowned evangelist, captivating audiences with his powerful sermons that transcended cultural and national boundaries. His mother, Ruth Graham, was a devout supporter of Billy's ministry while managing the upbringing of their 5 children in a household deeply rooted in faith. Growing up in this environment, Franklin was surrounded by a profound sense of purpose and responsibility. His home was not just a family residence, but a hub of influence where presidents, dignitaries, and cultural icons sought Billy Graham's counsel. This exposure to prominent figures and global issues left an indelible impression on young Franklin. However, being the son of a towering figure like Billy Graham came with challenges. Franklin was constantly under the weight of expectations. Many assumed he would naturally follow in his father's footsteps, continuing the Graham family's evangelical mission. Yet, Franklin's path was far from linear. Rebellion and resistance, a struggle for independence. As a teenager, Franklin was known for his rebellious streak. While his siblings leaned into the family's Christian values, Franklin pushed against the mold. Attending multiple boarding schools, he frequently clashed with authority. His rebellious nature culminated in being expelled from a college in Texas for breaking the rules. In his late teens and early 20s, Franklin sought independence, distancing himself from the religious world he had grown up in. He resisted the pressures of being Billy Graham's son, choosing instead to forge his identity through uncharted paths. This period saw Franklin embracing a free-spirited lifestyle, indulging in alcohol and shirking the structured values he had been taught. Franklin's thirst for adventure took him far from home. He traveled across Europe on a motorcycle and ventured through the Middle East, immersing himself in experiences that challenged his worldview. These years were formative, allowing him to explore life beyond the shadow of his father's legacy and develop his perspective. A life-altering awakening in Jerusalem. Franklin's life took a dramatic turn in 1974 during a visit to Jerusalem. Amid his travels, he experienced a profound spiritual awakening, which he later described as an epiphany. For the first time, the faith he had long resisted resonated deeply within him. Franklin realized that his rebellious path was not fulfilling and felt called to commit his life to God. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of his transformation. Returning home with renewed purpose, Franklin enrolled at Appalachian State University and later graduated from Montreat College in the same year. His commitment to Christianity deepened as he began working with Bob Pierce, founder of the Christian humanitarian organization Samaritan's Purse. Carving his path, leadership and humanitarian work. Under Pierce's mentorship, Franklin found a sense of purpose. Following Pierce's passing in 1978, Franklin stepped into a leadership role at Samaritan's Purse, becoming its president in 1979. This marked the start of his journey as a Christian leader, though his approach differed from his father's. While Billy Graham was celebrated for his large-scale evangelistic crusades, Franklin focused on humanitarian efforts, bringing aid to people in crisis zones worldwide. He began traveling to war-torn regions, disaster-stricken areas, and impoverished communities, offering both material support and spiritual guidance. Through projects like Operation Christmas Child, which delivers shoeboxes filled with gifts to children in need, and disaster relief initiatives following events like Hurricane Katrina and the 2010 Haiti earthquake, Franklin demonstrated a hands-on approach to ministry. His work earned him respect as a compassionate and action-oriented leader. Taking the helm, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. In 2000, Franklin assumed leadership of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, continuing his father's legacy while bringing his distinct perspective to the role. Under his guidance, the BGEA expanded its initiatives to include programs like My Hope, a grassroots evangelism campaign, and the Rapid Response Team, which deploys chaplains to crisis zones to provide spiritual and emotional support. While honoring his father's mission, Franklin's leadership style diverged in key ways. His sermons and public statements often tackled social and political issues head-on, contrasting with Billy Graham's more neutral and inclusive approach. Franklin's boldness attracted both admiration and criticism, further cementing his unique identity within the evangelical community. Controversy and criticism. Franklin's outspoken nature. Franklin's directness extended beyond his humanitarian work, leading to controversies over his remarks on sensitive topics. Following the September 11, 2001, attacks, he referred to Islam as a very evil and wicked religion, sparking widespread backlash. Similar comments made during a 2003 Good Friday service at the Pentagon and in subsequent interviews further fueled criticism. His outspoken views on issues like LGBTQ rights, political involvement in religion, and religious freedom have polarized audiences. Critics argue that his approach alienates some groups, while supporters praise his willingness to stand firm in his convictions. These controversies highlight the complexities of Franklin's leadership and the challenges of navigating faith in a diverse and divided world, balancing legacy and individuality. Franklin Graham's journey reflects a delicate balance between honoring his father's legacy and carving out his identity. While he embraced his role as a Christian leader, he did so on his own terms, blending humanitarian outreach with a bold voice on contemporary issues. Through organizations like Samaritan's Purse and the BGEA, Franklin has expanded the Graham family's influence into new areas, demonstrating that his path, though distinct, is equally impactful. His story is one of growth, resilience, and the enduring power of faith to transform lives. What lies ahead? Franklin's ongoing impact. Today, Franklin Graham is recognized not only as Billy Graham's son, but as a leader who has left a significant mark on both humanitarian and evangelical work. Despite the controversies, his commitment to helping others and spreading his faith remains unwavering. Franklin's journey from a rebellious young man to a respected Christian leader is a testament to the transformative power of faith and the enduring legacy of the Graham family. As he continues his work, Franklin faces new challenges and opportunities, ensuring that his impact on the world will be remembered for generations to come. Franklin Graham, navigating political controversy and personal trials. Franklin Graham, the son of the iconic evangelist Billy Graham, has long been a polarizing figure within both the evangelical and broader Christian communities. Known for his fiery rhetoric, unapologetic stance on contentious issues, and willingness to wade into political debates, Graham's career has been a blend of faith-based leadership and political activism. While his humanitarian efforts and dedication to evangelism have earned admiration, his outspoken political affiliations and remarks have drawn sharp criticism. Graham's journey, marked by moments of triumph, controversy, and personal tragedy, highlights the complexities of leading in the shadow of an esteemed figure while forging a distinct identity. Contentious views on Islam and religion. Franklin Graham has been particularly vocal about his views on Islam, leading to significant backlash over the years. His comments following the September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks ignited a firestorm. In his public statements, Graham described Islam as a very evil and wicked religion. Critics argued that such remarks fueled Islamophobia and alienated Muslims from interfaith dialogue efforts. The controversy resurfaced in April 2003 when Graham addressed a Good Friday service at the Pentagon, reiterating his critical stance. He later elaborated on these views during a 2009 interview, claiming that true Islam cannot be practiced in this country, citing practices in some Islamic countries as evidence. This statement sparked outrage, leading to the Pentagon rescinding an invitation for him to speak at a National Day of Prayer event in 2010. Graham has also been quoted in media outlets making broad generalizations about Islam, including labeling it as a religion of hatred in a Time magazine interview. His comments coincided with debates over the proposed construction of an Islamic cultural center near Ground Zero in New York City, which he vehemently opposed, arguing that it would symbolize a claim of victory by Muslims over the land. Critics have noted that these statements contrast with the more inclusive approach his father often took. Billy Graham focused on connecting with people of all backgrounds, fostering a message of love and reconciliation. Franklin's harsher tone, while resonating with some conservative Christians, has alienated others who see it as antithetical to the core teachings of Christianity. Franklin Graham, dual leadership roles and political controversies. Franklin Graham, a prominent evangelical leader and son of the renowned Billy Graham, has long been a figure of intrigue and debate. His roles as the head of both Samaritan's Purse, a major humanitarian organization, and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, BGEA, have positioned him as a significant force in faith-based leadership. However, Graham's dual leadership roles and forays into political discussions have often sparked scrutiny and controversy. This article delves into two prominent aspects of Graham's public life: the financial and ethical challenges of managing dual leadership roles and the controversy surrounding his remarks about President Barack Obama's faith. Dual leadership roles and financial scrutiny. Franklin Graham's leadership of both Samaritan's Purse and the BGEA has brought him significant influence, but also intense criticism. Samaritan's Purse, founded in 1970, is a global humanitarian aid organization known for initiatives like Operation Christmas Child and disaster relief efforts. Meanwhile, the BGEA continues the evangelistic mission of Billy Graham, organizing large-scale evangelistic events, media outreach, and ministry training programs. Managing either organization would be a daunting task for any leader, yet Graham has maintained control over both for decades. While supporters argue that Graham's leadership has strengthened both organizations, skeptics have questioned whether one individual can effectively manage two entities with distinct missions, each employing hundreds of staff members and managing multi-million-dollar budgets. The salary controversy. The scrutiny over Graham's dual leadership roles intensified in 2009 when reports surfaced about his combined annual salary of $1.2 million from Samaritan's Purse and the BGEA. Critics argued that the compensation was excessive, particularly for a leader in the nonprofit sector, where fiscal accountability and modesty are often emphasized. The timing of the revelation was significant, as a new IRS rule required Graham to report deferred retirement contributions that had previously been accounted for in earlier years. This brought additional attention to his earnings. Observers raised concerns not only about the amount, but also about whether Graham could genuinely devote sufficient time and energy to both roles. Non-profit experts questioned if the demanding nature of leading two large organizations was sustainable or ethical, especially given their reliance on donor contributions. Graham's response to the backlash. In response to the growing criticism, Franklin Graham took steps to address the concerns. In a public statement, he announced that he would forgo his salary from the BGEA, emphasizing that his ministry was never driven by financial incentives. This decision was framed as a gesture of solidarity with those experiencing economic hardship during the global financial downturn. Additionally, Graham suspended contributions to his retirement plan to further demonstrate his commitment to stewardship and fiscal responsibility. However, this decision did not mark the end of the controversy. In 2015, it was revealed that Graham had resumed accepting a salary from the BGEA. This move reignited criticism, with detractors arguing that it undermined his earlier statements about financial sacrifice. Combined with his compensation from Samaritan's Purse, Graham's total earnings placed him among the highest-paid leaders in the non-profit sector. Supporters versus critics. Supporters of Graham defended his salary, citing the immense responsibilities he bears as the head of two influential organizations. They argued that his compensation reflects the scope and impact of his work, which includes managing disaster relief operations, organizing large-scale evangelistic campaigns, and maintaining the legacy of Billy Graham. For many, Graham's effectiveness in advancing both organizations' missions justifies his earnings. Conversely, critics accused him of prioritizing personal gain over the spiritual and humanitarian missions of his organizations. They argued that such high compensation risks eroding public trust in the non-profits he leads, particularly among donors who contribute under the assumption that their funds primarily support charitable work. A controversial statement on CNN Franklin Graham's involvement in political discourse has frequently stirred controversy, with one of the most notable incidents occurring in 2010. During an interview with CNN's John King, Graham was asked about then-President Barack Obama's Christian faith. His response was both ambiguous and provocative. Graham stated that Obama was born a Muslim due to his father's Islamic faith, but had since renounced Islam and embraced Christianity. He added, "I just have to believe that the president is what he says he is," implying doubt about Obama's religious sincerity. This statement drew widespread criticism for perpetuating misconceptions about Obama's faith and feeding into broader political narratives that sought to delegitimize the president. At the time, polls indicated a significant portion of Americans incorrectly believed Obama was a Muslim, and Graham's comments were seen as exacerbating these misunderstandings. Further claims about the Obama administration. In March 2011, Graham doubled down on his controversial remarks during an interview with the conservative website Newsmax. He suggested that certain members of the Obama administration had connections to the Muslim Brotherhood, a claim viewed by many as inflammatory and lacking evidence. Critics argued that such statements not only misrepresented the administration, but also perpetuated harmful stereotypes about Muslims in public life. The backlash to Graham's comments was swift and widespread. Faith leaders and political commentators alike condemned his remarks, accusing him of using religion as a political weapon and undermining efforts to foster interfaith understanding. Even some within the evangelical community expressed discomfort with Graham's willingness to wade into divisive political debates. A public apology. In the wake of the controversy, Franklin Graham sought to mitigate the damage by issuing an open letter to President Obama. In the letter, Graham expressed regret for any comments that may have cast doubt on Obama's faith. He acknowledged the president's public affirmations of Christianity and emphasized the biblical mandate to pray for national leaders, regardless of political differences. Graham wrote, "I regret any comments I have ever made which may have cast any doubt on the personal faith of our president." While this apology was welcomed by some as a conciliatory gesture, others viewed it as insufficient to undo the harm caused by his earlier statements. For many, the episode left lasting questions about Graham's motivations and the impact of his political rhetoric on his broader ministry. The risks of mixing faith and politics. Franklin Graham's remarks about President Obama's faith highlight the broader challenges that arise when religious leaders engage in political discourse. While many evangelicals appreciate Graham's willingness to speak boldly about his convictions, others worry that his involvement in partisan debates risks alienating potential supporters and tarnishing the reputation of the church. Critics argue that Graham's comments reflect a broader trend among some evangelical leaders to prioritize political alliances over spiritual principles. By aligning closely with specific political ideologies or figures, they risk alienating those who view faith as a unifying force rather than a divisive one. Balancing leadership and advocacy. Graham's dual roles as a spiritual leader and political advocate require a delicate balancing act. On one hand, his leadership of Samaritan's Purse and the BGEA gives him a platform to address pressing social and political issues. On the other hand, his outspoken political positions risk overshadowing the core missions of these organizations. For Graham, political advocacy appears to be an extension of his commitment to biblical truth. However, critics caution that such advocacy can undermine the credibility of faith-based initiatives, particularly when it involves controversial or polarizing statements. Support for Donald Trump and political alliances. Franklin Graham's outspoken political views became particularly evident during Donald Trump's presidency. In 2016, Graham emerged as one of Trump's most prominent evangelical supporters, praising the businessman-turned-politician as a divinely chosen leader. Following Trump's election victory, Graham attributed the outcome to the God factor, suggesting that divine intervention had played a role. This strong alignment with Trump extended into Graham's defense of the president during scandals and impeachment proceedings. He dismissed impeachment efforts as unjust inquisition and even implied that opposition to Trump stemmed from demonic power. Such statements solidified Graham's position as a staunch ally of Trump, but also alienated segments of the evangelical community who felt his rhetoric was divisive and overly partisan. Graham's support for Trump went beyond words. He participated in Trump's inauguration, reading from Paul's first epistle to Timothy, and consistently used his platform to advocate for the former president's policies. However, his unwavering loyalty to Trump also drew criticism, particularly after the events of January 6, 2021, when Graham compared Republican representatives who voted to impeach Trump to Judas Iscariot. This comparison, which implied betrayal for personal gain, was widely condemned as inflammatory and inappropriate. Criticism within the evangelical community. While Franklin Graham's assertive approach has won him admirers, it has also sparked dissent within the evangelical community. Many critics argue that his methods lack the grace and compassion central to the Christian message, contrasting sharply with his father's more inclusive and apolitical style. Billy Graham was known for bridging divides and fostering unity, avoiding partisan entanglements to focus solely on evangelism. Franklin's focus on culture wars and alignment with conservative political figures has led some evangelicals to question whether he prioritizes political agendas over spiritual principles. His rhetoric, often confrontational and polarizing, has been accused of driving people away from the church rather than drawing them in. Despite these criticisms, Franklin Graham remains steadfast in his convictions. He views his outspokenness as a commitment to biblical truth, even when it conflicts with popular opinion. For Graham, faith is a matter of conviction, and he is willing to endure criticism to defend what he believes are essential Christian values. A personal tragedy, the loss of Aunt Jean. Amid the controversies and challenges, Franklin Graham recently faced a profound personal loss. His aunt, Jean Graham Ford, passed away at the age of 91. As the only surviving sibling of Billy Graham, Jean held a special place in the family's history and legacy. Diagnosed with polio at a young age, Jean demonstrated remarkable resilience and faith throughout her life. In a heartfelt tribute shared on social media, Franklin Graham celebrated his aunt's unwavering devotion to God, her family, and her church. He described her as a source of encouragement for his father during his ministry, often providing counsel and support behind the scenes. Graham's reflections on Jean's life highlighted the enduring bond within the Graham family and their shared commitment to faith. While mourning her passing, Graham found solace in his belief that Jean was now at home with the Lord. Citing scripture, to emphasize the hope and comfort of eternal life. This loss serves as a poignant reminder of the personal sacrifices and challenges that accompany a life devoted to ministry. Conclusion: a legacy of complexity. Franklin Graham's life and career are a study in contrasts. As a humanitarian leader, he has brought aid and hope to countless people worldwide through Samaritan's Purse. As an evangelist, he has continued his father's mission, albeit with a more politically charged approach. Yet his outspoken views and controversial alliances have also made him a divisive figure. Balancing the weight of his father's legacy with his distinct identity, Franklin Graham remains a prominent voice in the Christian world. Whether celebrated for his humanitarian work or criticized for his political stances, his impact is undeniable. His story is one of conviction, controversy, and an unwavering commitment to his faith, even in the face of personal trials and public scrutiny. What do you think of Franklin Graham's journey? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about influential figures.